Good evening. This is CTV News for Wednesday, November 4th. I'm Gina Barty.
And I'm Patricia Vallone. Thank you for joining us tonight. Well, on the eve of criminal trials in Baltimore for the Freddie Gray case, calls for systematic police reform are not only being heard in the city, but nationwide.
The subject was the focus of a hearing and panel discussion today on Capitol Hill. Rochelle Metzger was there and joins us now with more. Rochelle?
That's right, ladies. The first of those cases in Baltimore is set to begin at the end of the month. Meantime, today, U.S. Senator Ben Cardin and Maryland's Attorney General Brian Frosh held a congressional briefing that is called Beyond Discriminatory Profiling and Law Enforcement Reform. Cardin has already introduced several pieces of legislation, including the Baltimore Act and the Law Enforcement Trust and Integrity Act. Frosh has issued new guidelines prohibiting racial profiling by law enforcement, making Maryland the first state to do so. Also today, a panel of experts, including Prince George's Sheriff Melvin High, reviewed current federal and state guidelines and discussed ways to further improve relations between police departments and the communities they serve.
Men and women who are on the street who are charged with enforcing the law, they have to make split-second decisions. It's not always easy. But what we can help with is to keep in front of them the principle that you cannot just stop somebody because he or she is African American or he or she is Hispanic. If you have a credible piece of information that says somebody has just committed a crime and they have the following traits or characteristics, absolutely you can follow up on that. But you can't just do a generalized stop search of folks because of their race or ethnicity, et cetera.
I believe our public safety and law enforcement community supports that. We certainly are not about profiling. We want to make sure that we work in a fair and consistent way, that we honor the Constitution and the rights that people have as we go about doing our work. And so, for the most part, good police work is not dependent on profiling people in an improper way.
Back to Baltimore, the trial for the first of the 6 cops charged in Freddie Gray's arrest and transport, Officer William Porter, is scheduled to begin on November 30th. Now, they did come up with some solutions or recommendations for solutions today during that panel discussion, and there's a full-page graphic with a couple of those recommendations. The first is enhancing awareness of racial bias and stereotypes and alleviating racial anxiety that racial bias causes through positive contact between racial groups. They also talked about providing incentives for local police departments for voluntarily adopting performance-based standards and providing state grants to develop pilot programs for best practices for training, recruitment, and improving relations between officers and communities. Those are some of the recommendations they had to combat both racial profiling and to help ease these tensions between communities and law enforcement right now.
Great.
All right. Thank you,
Rochelle.